Reaction. Fox News contributors Kaylee, McGhee, White, Ari Fleischer are with us. You know, Kaylee, McGhee, I'm going to scroll the things that nobody ever talks about in the mainstream media. We talk a lot about, you know, El Sayed and Telefrico, and, you know, you got Graham Plattner 2.0, Troy Jackson in Maine. You know, we've elected since 2019 250 DSA members. We got 40 more on the ballot in 40 states. We don't talk a lot about President Trump's success, and we'll scroll that. But, you know, how the media will never do it. He tries to, but, you know, he's only one person. What is the best way for him to effectively communicate that heading into, I think, the most important midterm in our life?
I think it's the visuals that are really going to sell that point home. And let's just take immigration, for example, because, again, I think that's the most visually compelling policy change between this administration and Joe Biden's policy change. The border, the wide open southern border under Joe Biden was such a viscerally appalling image for so many voters. And to see it now with, I think Tom Homan was reporting just this last week, 0 illegal immigrants have been caught and released across that southern border since President Trump retook office in 2024. That is a stunning accomplishment, and it just goes to show that all that has to be done is a president taking executive action to simply fulfill the laws as they are written. And again, if Democrats get back in control either of the House or the Senate, or certainly if they take back the White House in 2028, all of that goes to the wayside. They have 0 interest in enforcing any sort of immigration law, period. Many of them are sort of lying and cosplaying as moderates on this issue, like El Sayed, who's claiming that he doesn't actually want to abolish ICE. He wants to bring back a different form of the agency. That's nonsense. They have no interest in actually enforcing immigration law, period. So I think both you and Trey are completely right that President Trump is on the ballot in that sense, and that if you want our immigration laws to be enforced in any sense of the word, Republicans do need to maintain control of Congress, and they do need to win in 2028 as well.
Yeah. Ari, let's get your take.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of merit to what Kaylee said. And I think the task, though, for President Trump, he has accomplishments. The border is the first one. The drop in crime, which also is connected to the fact that we've gotten rid of a lot of people who came here illegally and then did more additional illegal things once they were here. And this economy is surprisingly resilient. I mean, the strength of the economy is really something to be said. And one of the reasons costs are so high is because it takes a long time to get them down from the Biden levels. These things don't happen overnight, and President Trump is fighting his way through what Joe Biden did to America with high prices. But by and large, Sean, this is going to be an opposition election, the 26th midterm. This is going to be Democrats running against Trump, and Republicans have got to run against socialist radical Democrats. That's got to be the tone of it. Sometimes you want to run a positive campaign, talk about what you've accomplished. Other cycles is you've got to define the other guy. This is a define the other guy. I call it this cycle the Paul Revere election. The socialists are coming, and they're coming by land and by sea. And that's what the American people, I hope,
Ari,
will recognize.
let me ask you this. Just a couple of years ago, nearly 80 million Americans voted for Donald Trump. I mean, do these people not understand the importance of this moment? Because I have a 5-alarm fire going off in my brain.
Well, the problem is that the base loves Donald Trump more than the base likes Republicans. And so you have actually a massive drop. It's a 50 million person drop, Sean. 150 million people voted in the presidential election. 100 million voted in the last midterm election. That's a massive drop off of people who don't show up if Trump's not on the ticket. The problem Republicans have this cycle is the Democrats are going to turn out because they hate Trump. It's wise of Republicans and wise of the president to nationalize this election, have that convention they're having in Dallas, and try to bring out the Trump base that normally would not show up in a midterm election. That is essential to Republican success.
All right, Ari Fleischer, Kaylee McGhee White, thank you both. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Hanging Out with Me, Sean Hannity. The big interviews, the debates you won't get anywhere else. Like and subscribe for new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday.